we structure our lives based on the day-to-day reactivity instead of saying, I have an ability to plan out where I want to be. I don't have to just land. I want to plan it. I want to see it. Really, our internal GPS is about guiding us into a clear future. But if we don't know what that looks like, we don't have a purpose.
So are leaders born or are they made?
There are people with personalities that have an ability to be able to walk into a room, command a room, and affect those around them. With confidence and leadership can be trained, coached on, just like anything else. Yeah. It's the ability to see things from others' map of their own territory and not just ours. It's an ability to ask the right questions. Stop using your own opinions to project on others. And that's why many, many leaders never really truly understand the people that they're leading.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Blue is the New White podcast, continuing on with our new format this year, talking to people who can help the blue-collar business owners of the world. I am excited about our guest today. You might have seen her. She's been kind of all over the place. I know I've seen some of her stuff too. If you don't know her, you certainly know her company, CEO Warrior, the company that she's with there. So I want to welcome to the show today, Miss Sandy Papavero. Welcome to the Blue is the New White podcast.
I love it. Thanks, Josh. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this conversation. So to kind of build context, Sandy, I'm curious, what is it that you consider yourself an expert in?
So I would say really my super passion would come from the sales and marketing spectrum, but it would also run into the power of persuasion and really the mindset that goes behind anything that we do in life. For us to do what we do at CEO Warrior, we have to be very well versed in business acumen. But when I have my superpower, it would be helping people to get past limiting beliefs and really looking at them and understanding what their uncapped potential is. And when I find people, there's just this innate feeling in me that I have a conversation and pull out of them what they've been holding back for themselves.
I can't tell you how excited I am for this conversation. This is right up my alley. So I hope by the end of it, you can get me past some of my limiting beliefs. So we'll see. No, this is great, and this is exactly why we do the show. So I'm really excited to have you on. So before we get into kind of the nitty gritty, the logistics of everything you just said, can you give us a brief background of you and kind of how you got to where you are?
Sure. So just like everybody in our generation, I started working fairly young, had that hunger inside of me to want more, be more, do more. And my dad was in the financial industry for years, and I just kind of molded myself to see what he was doing for himself, and he walked a good path, but he was a jack of all trades. So he started a construction company because he always had that, I want to build something. So he started flipping houses fairly young. I think I was about 15 or 16. I call myself some child labor. He had me, pulling toilets and painting more than I could cut a line without taping, and really just understanding how that meshed in with entrepreneurialism and how we don't have to fit in a box. And that kind of went into my dad and I building homes. And at the same time, I went to college. So I was kind of working 2 jobs and going to school full time, and then, moved out, and I really just wanted more for myself. So I started working with a startup company that was under $1 million. We went to 65 million, and my love for business just grew. Then I went back into the financial industry, worked on Wall Street for a long time. So that's why I love the blue is the new white. I learned so much. I did a lot of financial consulting when I was there. But what I started to see was on Wall Street for the companies that were doing succession planning, what was happening was they had scarcity mindset. They didn't want to part with their money. So we could plan them really well for the future. But as soon as something would go wrong with their company, they would pull back, they'd stop investing, and they would cancel their policies. So it really just kind of turned me on to how do we help them overcome that thought process, and why aren't they where they need to be? Why is money not abundant? It's scarce. And that brought me through to finding Tony Robbins, and I started to work for him. And that was like one of the highlights of my life. At the same time, had three little kids at that time. I was running my ex-husband's family funeral homes. So I was watching people pass away without a legacy. So it was all kind of cumulative because now you have a lifetime of working and achievement. And where do you want to be when that's all over? So I took all those pieces and I said, what the problem is we structure our lives based on the day-to-day reactivity instead of saying, I have an ability to plan out where I want to be. I don't have to just land. I want to plan it. I want to see it. I don't, want to get all esoteric about manifestation and all, but really our internal GPS is about guiding us into a clear future. But if we don't know what that looks like, we don't have a purpose. And then we turn to pleasure. So when we can put these pieces together, we can start to see that there is an abundance in the future. And that's why I really love working with trades, because I feel as if they have so much potential that there's not going to be any time that you have a recession in the trades. Right? Like it's just like the funeral home. We have, I don't want to say recession proof because money will become an issue in a recession, but we have an ability to be able to serve at the highest level. And we need to know what that looks like. People talk when I speak to some of our clients, they say, well, I just want better, or I want a bigger company. So what does that mean? How do we define that? What does that roadmap actually look like? And what are those steps, if we reverse engineer, that we can actually get there? But there's never a plan. Never a plan. When I ask what that clear future looks like, what is that vision for yourself and for your company? I don't often hear it. Some people just stare down at the paper. You don't get in your car and try to go somewhere without a plan. You know where you're going.
That's true.
So I do that with our lives.
Wow. Incredible. Okay. So I've got a couple of questions that came out of that. So you said early on in your description that you realized that you don't have to fit into a box. What does that mean?
Wow. I mean, coming from my perspective, my parents were successful. They had their ups and downs just like anyone else. But my mom and dad were really about, you need to go out and live, and what is your legacy? What is that going to look like? And I'll always turn back to legacy. Like, it's not always about the monetary legacy, but if you pass away, and working for Tony Robbins, he always made us write our eulogies. And there is some morbidity to that, but really, what do you want people to say about you when you pass away from this world? What do you want to leave behind? Right? For me, I have 4 kids, and that is one thing that I always look at is, what do I want them to remember about mom? And I just feel as if fitting in a box, I want them to always say, like, you went after it. You may have failed, you may have succeeded, but you never fit into that mold where I didn't finish school right in those 4 years. I was working full time, so I stretched it out. But it didn't mean that it was what I was supposed to do. And often in this time that we're in right now, there's this, you go to school, you go to college, you either get a degree in whatever, and then you find a job, and you stay there, you have a family, you have kids. Who said? Right? I mean, in this industry, there is so much potential earning, and people are staying within that box because they're safe. They feel safe. I don't care about safety. I have been at the top of my game. I have been at the end game, and I have rebuilt. But once you pave that path, like, I just look at myself and say, what can I do today to be better? And it doesn't have to conform to anyone else. That's what the box is. Stop thinking small. Stop thinking that this is the right life, and then I'm going to retire. I live my life. I travel, I work hard. I spend time with my kids, my family, my friends. I don't want to live when I'm 62 when I retire. So that confinement and that roadmap doesn't fit for me. So we need to really look at how do these guys define their lives, and who is defining it for them, and who said you can't.
Yeah. You got the attention of the listeners out there, I think, because I mean, listen, it's no secret that, and this is just a statistic I'm pulling out of my ass right now. I don't know if it's true or not, right? But I would venture to say that 90+% of business owners are under such immense pressure that they don't know how to live now. They don't. It's their business, right? And sometimes it's so all consuming that it leads to marital issues. It leads to relationship problems. It leads to lack of outside interests. It leads to a lot of things that take away from the quality of life.
So I love that you say that, and I'm going to go down that road a little bit. When I look at the people that are, our members and our clients, they often think, because the old school thought process, and I had mentioned prior about limiting beliefs, we have this belief system inside of us, and have this coding that we need to work hard to be successful. We need to work 12-hour days or we don't deserve success. Tim Ferriss had come out with a 4-hour work week, and people were like, oh, he, at first, people look at that and say, that's not a possibility. Who said? Why are we not looking at how do we create process and systems, understand our operations? Where's our efficiencies? How do we market smarter? How do we pull in the right ideal client? How do we sell more with integrity? How do we help serve at the highest level? But most times it's never defined. They don't even know what they stand for. So how do I walk in your house as a blue collar service expert and come to you? I don't know how to articulate my value system. So what do? They get back in the truck and they work harder and they need more leads, and then they don't know their conversions, and then they try to sell more, and then it becomes this disingenuous sales process. But again, then it goes back to the flow because they don't know their financials. Like, it just can go on and on and on. So when we really look at it, what does that really mean? What does it mean that we give up so much of our lives? Like, that's not something that I ever want to be known for. My legacy is that I worked, and I don't just want to be cliche and say worked smarter, not harder, but I work smart because it's directed.
Yeah.
And for the listeners out there, I'm going to say that it takes every ounce of energy because I'm a squirrel. I'll be here, be there. It takes me extra effort to focus. So that being said, I have to shift my thoughts and really have a why behind everything I'm doing. And that helps me stay on my value system. But oftentimes when they're coming out of a truck, they don't know any other life. So now they're transitioning from this fast-paced road warrior to now an operational guru, right? That's really where they need to lead from the front. Your hands don't need to be in everything. And that's also something that I think we'll probably talk about on this podcast as well.
I think so. And I really love the way you put that. And I got a question surrounding that. But before, I think, just hearing you talk about, that, listen, let's call it what it is, right? It's work ethic, but it's a little bit misguided in what work ethic looks like, because we live in a society today where people are applauded for working 18 hours a day, right? Oh, yeah. It doesn't matter if you're productive. It only matters if you're busy. And there's a very big distinction between the two, as I can tell listening to you speak, and I think that creates almost I want to call it a false sense of accomplishment, right? That's what it feels like to me. So I just wanted to interject that. But before you respond to that, my question kind of is around that. You said a couple of times, you mentioned the why, and the value system and things like that. And earlier in our conversation, you made a comment and you said, without purpose, we tend to, or we turn to pleasure. Without purpose, we turn to pleasure. So I had it on my list to ask you the question, and then you just kind of walked me right into it. So help me understand that statement. What does that mean?
Well, I feel as if that every one of us has a purpose. We just don't define it. Again, it's our internal roadmap. So if we don't, then we seek the pleasure. because it gets rid of whatever you just said, something that I loved about um, enjoying life. And people feel guilty when they are enjoying life, but then they keep returning to it because they don't want to face what they don't want to face in their business, in their lives, in their relationships, with their families. They want to stay sometimes in that space. So I often look at this as almost an addiction, a backward addiction to disappointment, is that we become very familiar with disappointment. So we seek out pleasure and we put purpose to the side, and our bodies and our minds, and I had mentioned neuroplasticity. It's how we were raised, our childhood belief systems, how our parents were to us. Those can all be reframed, and we can look at it differently and gain momentum from that. But instead, a lot of us, because of this addiction to constantly being let down, we return to it. And what way do we fulfill that feeling inside of us that either we're not good enough, or lack of self-worth or insecurity? And I see it all the time. I've been training sales for 30 years. We project onto our clients, and a lot of that is because we don't understand what it's supposed to look like for us. So what are we going to do? We're going to go and not work as hard on the weekends, and not really put together a plan, a roadmap. We're undisciplined. We lack consistency. So purpose is about creating that flow. And I want to make something clear, because a lot of the people that are in our world that are influencers say, oh, you have to get up at 5 a.m., do meditation, do gratitude. I do have a schedule because that creates that discipline for me in the rest of my life. And again, it takes me that effort to remain consistent and disciplined. But when people fall from grace, what they do is they seek out the pleasure. They seek the pleasure. And whether or not we are successful and run to the addiction of the disappointment, or we have the pleasure of being successful, we've proven our subconscious mind right.
Yes. Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, more or less. It's not even just about a prophecy. It's about a feeling that comes over you when your body knows you're right. Whether it's positive or negative, our subconscious mind doesn't understand positive or negative. So we have to think about that. And, being a neuro-linguistic practitioner, I look at this as really opening your mind up to a belief system that is very difficult to overcome, those thoughts that are on the daily. Like if you would write down the thoughts that you have, 66,000 of them are the same every day. We're just going to keep reprocessing those thought patterns.
Wow.
So we have to now create those new waves of thought. And if we don't, then we just get stuck back in the day. It's Groundhog.
So I'm going to ask you the magic question. You know what that is, right? How do we break free from this perception, this mindset, this circle, right? And find purpose. I mean, we're busy, Sandy. we're so busy, like with our business, and listen, if we step away for 2 seconds, our entire business is going to crumble. You know that, right?
And really, where does that thought come from? Is it a self-importance? Is there something about your control? Well, if you were my client, I would be asking you the questions of what is going to change if you don't change. And if you look at out of all the people that I have coached, advised over my very long career, I have seen the patterns of behavior are very similar. And creating a purpose takes effort, it takes consistency, and it takes a want. So maybe they don't really want it. How bad do you want it? Eric Thomas says, do you want success more than you want to breathe? We say we want it, but then why aren't you in my room? Why aren't you being trained by me to be better? So that minute that you step away from your business, it's going to run really well. Are you that important to your business? Because if you are, then you have a job.
Yep. There you go. No, that's
It
a
needs to run without you at every single level, and it's possible. We do it every day. You're here with me right now. You're not out running your business. It's lack of time and effort to create the systems and the processes that are going to drive our business forward. Again, there's some kind of feeling that people get that they can say, I need to be here. I can't do, no one can do this without me. And what do I do if they don't need me?
I think that's the magic question, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I'm curious, effort, consistency, and actually wanting it, right? How many people do you go down this road with and find out that it's actually something completely different that they want?
Oh, wow, that's such a good question. Many.
Yeah.
They've never defined it. They've never thought about it. They never opened their mind to it. And when you start, just like if you and I were having a conversation where maybe I'm drilling down of what your challenges are in your business and where I can see some opportunity for you, you're going to say, you know what, Sandy, I need more leads. And I laugh because it's a symptom. It's not really the root cause. So that's the same thing with where we're going with them. What if we do more with less? So, meaning sell more to the ones that are there, create better systems and processes, and a better experience for your client. You don't need more people to sell to. You need to do more with less. And that goes for everything that's of purpose in our lives. Why are you not getting gratification from the hour or two that you got to spend with your family? Right? Why are we looking for more, constantly filling that void? And that happens a lot with business owners. So we have to open them up to questions about themselves that they really don't want to look in the mirror at. And it's a difficult, there's a lot of tears in our room. There's a lot of vulnerability that comes with being successful. There's a lot of vulnerability with talking about your failures. But those aha moments, I wouldn't change them for the world. Because what I see for the people who want to actually roll their sleeves up, put pen to paper, and work hard to become, more valuable to themselves than they are to their business, it's a life changing experience. Like there's nothing more gratifying for me than to be able to turn someone, and when they walk out of our 2 day event, and they're thinking differently, and now they feel like they have that purpose driven roadmap for the next 90 days, that just little tweaks could change what they do. How do we, I don't have time. You said it before, I don't have time for my family. My wife's on my aisle. I hear it nonstop. I'm a marriage counselor sometimes in this business. A lot of wives that
Yeah.
help their husbands out.
Yeah.
How do we define and align ourselves with that clarity of purpose? And I think purpose is something that's often overlooked. I mean, people can't even plan menus for the day. But we're asking them to plan out their business.
Yeah. Yeah. That's tough. And so, I mean, if I'm hearing you correctly, it really sounds like, all the logistical stuff that we talk about and we hear about in business, like you said, more leads or talent, right? Bringing on the right talent, or, making sure that invoice incidents stay down, or whatever it is. The very first step is getting past yourself and the beliefs that you hold, right? That's got to be like number one. So I got to ask then, can you share with us any tactics or the process in which you get people to these aha moments? I mean, if somebody's listening to the show and they're like, "Man, this sounds like me," what can they do to get themselves there?
Well, I've become very skilled at asking questions. So
Love
asking
questions.
relevant questions that are going to get them out of their comfort zone. And I will say that I probably have an approach that is a little different, but being that you're in a room that we want you to be your full self, and you had always said be authentic. And the first thing I listen to language, the linguistic part of what I do and what I'm coached in and certified in is the linguistics. So your words will tell me your true thoughts. When I listen to you, I'll ask you certain questions and I'll listen to the language that you use. When I hear power words, or I hear limiting words, or I hear words like always, never, have to, should. I know that you are not direct approach to the success that you know that you are entitled to. So I'm going to push you beyond limits. If I hear that you're nervous to get on stage, guess what? You're coming up on stage with me. We're going to push you to get up in front of a microphone. People who say, well, oh my gosh, Sandy, I've never spoken in front of a large crowd. Well, guess what? Today you're going to break through those barriers. You're going to do something to tell yourself yes. You're going to role play with me and you're going to embarrass the hell out of yourself in front of all these people in the room. But when they know that it's a safe space to be able to put themselves out there wherever out there is, but when they're able to understand the context in which they have been holding themselves back, there's something freeing about like totally fucking up. Like there is.
Yeah.
It's okay. We've all been there. When I worked for Tony Robbins, every Monday, we literally had breakthrough sessions where you heard your voice and we would role play our phone calls with the clients. And man, you shrunk down into a chair. But after a while, it was always for the betterment of our experience. And how do we, if I cannot be super powerful in my role as a leader, as someone who's making you think differently as a business owner, then how are we going to help you affect your team? How am I going to be confident when I hire you that you have zero experience in the trades, but I'm going to make you the best that there is? I'm going to make you a confident leader that's going to be able to have a poised team and deliver the most amazing results for your client. That's all. Is there anything that is so outrageous to know in the trades to run this kind of business other than a client experience? No, there's in every business, right? All we have to do is be ourselves, be authentic, and understand what we stand for. And that's how we get people past that. Everyone has leadership abilities. And maybe it's not in the way that you're thinking, but you can lead yourself. Everyone's a leader, Josh. Every person that I speak to on a daily basis is a leader. They
Yeah.
just don't know it themselves.
Thank you for saying that. That's something that I often preach as well, right? I like to say that leadership and influence are interchangeable words. That leadership is really just about influence, whether that's influencing yourself, whether that's leading from beside someone as a coworker on the front line, or whether that's in a CEO or executive or leadership position. So I appreciate you bringing that to light, because that's a friendly reminder to everybody that that this pertains to you. So I've got to ask then, on the heels of that, you use the words powerful leader. So I'm going to ask, what does a powerful leader look like?
For me, it's someone who has the ability to change the way someone views themselves. If I can make you walk away from an experience with me and my incredible team that I get to work with every day, then I have led you to be able to lead others. We mask our insecurities by putting others down because it makes us feel better. So a leader feels confident in themselves and has the ability to rise people up, to understand what their potential is. They may not be there now. And that goes back to hiring, because you had said about the hiring. We're looking for the magic people to bring in skilled laborers, skilled workers. Well, if you're a true leader, I'm going to find what your strengths are. I don't care about your weaknesses. I'm going to put together an amazing team, balancing each other out. And that a leader, true leader, stands back and understands how he can affect his team. Josh, I want to know what makes you tick. I want to know what's going to drive you, what's going to push you. I want to help you to know what you want. What is your income? What is your magic number? And then how do I reverse engineer it to make you hit that? That's a dream manager. That's a leader. It's not about me. It's not about just dollars. Maybe you want 3 days off every time you hit your KPIs or your quotas. What is your targets? What's important to you? A leader finds out. A leader sits with their teams. They understand what their desires are, their wants, their wishes. right? I want to know how to direct you to a better life, whatever better is for you. I want to know. By the time you leave an experience with me, I will know what better means.
I like that. So, are leaders born or are they made?
So I'm going to go on that as both.
Okay.
There are people with personalities that have an ability to be able to walk into a room, command a room, and affect those around them. But confidence and leadership can be trained, just coached on, just like anything else.
Yeah.
It's the ability to see things from others' map of their own territory and not just ours. It's an ability to ask the right questions. Stop using your own opinions to project on others. And that's why many, many leaders never really truly understand the people that they're leading because
Hmm.
everything is from their map of their own territory, their own opinions, and their own thoughts. I want to understand you. How do I lead you? What makes me be able to push you past your limits to the success that you deserve? Not what I think you deserve, but what you deserve.
Wow. So, okay. I have so many questions I can't figure out where to land. All right, so I'm going to ask this because I think that listen, I've talked to enough business owners out there, leaders out there, to know. You had mentioned confidence, right, and its importance, and I think confidence sometimes can be largely misunderstood. So I want to kind of get into that just a little bit and talk about confidence in leadership or business ownership as it relates to imposter syndrome, right? How does this ebb and flow? Talk to me about this dynamic.
I mean, imposter syndrome, every one of us has a little bit of that because there's always somebody that's going to be up here. But what we forget is that you know more than many, many, many people at the level that you're at right now today. So stop looking up and look down. And oftentimes we interchangeably use competence and confidence. Just because I can do something very well doesn't mean I'm confident in doing it. It's just a skill set that I have. So in order to have confidence, we affect the people that we're working with or working for. And I always go back to a five-star restaurant when I think about confidence because when you go into somewhere where they know that they have to deliver a client experience in order to, raise their tickets, offer the best options for me. And it's an experience, right? And that's what we're always trying to create in any business that is service-based business is an experience. And no one can ever undermine the experience that they have with you because it's a professional service. I don't care if you're selling any brand, HVAC, your plumbing. Homeowners are clueless. They don't know what you're putting in the house. They just want that experience. They want to push the button up and it gets cooler, and they want to push it down.
Right.
I went reverse, but they want to flush a toilet and it flushes, right? They want their family's lifestyle to have an experience. So if I'm confident in the fact that I can make that a reality for your family's home, then I'm going to be able to use my competence in the same regard, right? So they go hand in hand. And the imposter syndrome comes from this I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, because they haven't gotten themselves to the level where they're really looking inward and saying, I have all these skill sets, but instead they look at the ones that they don't have. If my team were on here right now, they would tell you about 10 of my weaknesses, right? They would, and I would point all of them out for you. I
Yeah.
have not one issue with them. I'm not changing my weaknesses. I work hard at some of them that I would like to be a little bit better at. I play to my strengths. And what I do is I lean on those around me to be able to give me the confidence in order to carry out my tasks. And that will give me more confidence. People are just we're human and we always go reverse. We're always in reverse motion of saying, I can't do that. And when I talk to you about listening to language, that's what I'm listening for. Stay focused on what you're super good at, and confidence will follow. Confidence will always follow.
I like that. So I have my definition of confidence, and I don't know if I came up with this or if I read it somewhere. So I can't take full credit for it because I really don't remember. But I've always kind of viewed confidence, and maybe this is just, part of the dialogue. You can bounce back and forth on this. I've always viewed confidence as intent, right? Intent to do something. In the way that you're intentionally moving forward. So, for instance, you can confidently not know something, right? And you can use that to your advantage, right? Confidence doesn't mean that you know everything and that you can do everything. It just means that you're honest enough to, move forward with intent, intently saying, I don't know this, intently brushing your teeth, intentionally, intently, lifting those weights in front of you, or whatever it is. And for whatever reason, Sandy, that's helped me, because I listen, I'm human, right? I've experienced the imposter syndrome before, and several times a day for my entire life. But having that in the back of my mind, just saying, okay, well, if I'm intentional about everything that I do on a daily basis, if I'm intentional about the way that I walk into a room, if I'm intentional about who I'm speaking to, why I'm speaking to them, what I'm saying, I can exude confidence that way. So how do you respond to that?
Well, people often get confidence mixed with arrogance, right? The ego is what our main driving force is.
Mm-hmm.
When you just we just came full circle, because when you talk about intentionality, that's purpose. So if I'm going to be confident, I'm going to have a purpose. I'm going to lay my foundation down. I'm going to have a roadmap of where I want to go. I may not know exactly how I'm going to get there, but I was able to understand that intent, right? That's your true purpose. And confidence is going to come from that. Most of us don't know what to do. 90% of people don't go to the gym, and it's not just because they're lazy. They don't understand what their purpose is when they walk into the gym. They are confident when they are making progress because now they have a plan of action. Where most of it comes from is the inability to create a proper plan that's going to get us to where we want to go. Again, if we don't know where we want to go, we're not going to get there. And what strikes me the most, and on the calls that I do with future prospects that come into our world, is they know there's some challenges in their business. They're not where they want to be. They don't understand what the gap is to get to where they want to be. Really don't know what they want to be. I don't want a revenue number. That doesn't mean anything to me. I don't want to hear, oh, I want to be a $5 million company. What does that mean? What does a $5 million company mean to you? Right? What is that going to do for you? That's what I want to know. That's what the intention comes from. When we know that our plan is in action and we're taking that skill set now and creating the momentum, we're going to be confident. We're going to be a leader. But they don't have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I have these amazing masters at their trades. Like there's men and women in our world that I have more fun with, and they are so skilled. I don't know what you're talking about sometimes. You could be the best installer ever. But your ego is always going to drive you to focus on that skill set because that's where your confidence is. Where you're not confident is in the business side of running the day-to-day operations. We don't understand the inefficiencies that are creating that lack of momentum. So what do? We open the box, we open it, and we start to pull all the bad out. And then we fill it back in with the good. And that's where the imposter syndrome starts to go away, because once you start to drive yourself forward with momentum, it all comes full circle. Everything will come from listen, how you do one thing is how you do everything. You will hear me say this on every podcast I'm on. Tony Robbins, that was something he drilled into our head. You will succeed in your personal and your business life equally. You will fail in your business and your personal life equally. You never see one person who's doing something amazing but failing somewhere else, because we're building that block. If we have that consistency discipline in one area of our life, then we're going to have that continuation into every other area. And it's just a matter of putting that time together. But you know what, Josh? Most people just don't want to. And I'll say that 1,000 times. I have to get you to understand the why of what is it going to do for you. Again, it's never about money. Money is the byproduct of the passion that drives you.
Wow, wow, that's powerful. And especially, the first thing that you said after that, which is intentionality is purpose. Right. That's really, I think that's a really powerful statement. I appreciate that. And as I'm listening to you, especially with the whys, right? It's occurring to me right now in this very moment that some people could be confused. Some people could be confused because they're told from a business logistics standpoint, from a lot of books that they read, you need SMART goals, right? SMART, what is it? Yeah, something measurable, attainable, result driven,
And tested,
tested.
right?
Yeah, thank you. You need SMART goals, and that's coming from a very logistical standpoint. That is the revenue, that is the profit, that is the where to be at what point in time. Very rigid type of of outlook, and you're saying that you demand. I don't know if demand is the right word, but you ask of your people that you're coaching, right, and that you're helping to move past that and basically talk about what that will do for them. Yeah. Okay.
I find that we start on the starting line, right? It's called start and finish for a reason. But there's been so many books on, it starts with why, and then all the way down to do everything with the end in mind. But we don't think that way with the end in mind. If we can start with the end, we are going to be able to plan better, understand our lives better, understand our whys that will come out of it. And look, there are people that are really great at putting pieces together like SMART goals. That's not me. I go after targets, and I understand why I go after the targets. And everyone is different. We just have to pull that out of them. Again, we'll go back to true leadership. I look at myself and say, I'm not going to put together and check boxes off every time I hit something. When I was a little kid, I used to love to do to-do lists and then block them off. But what was I to doing? What was I getting to? Right? And then it's just becomes never ending filling an empty bucket, because now we're just putting things up there and crossing them off, putting them, what is the end goal? What is it going to get me? What is my life going to look like? Am I going to, like, visualization of understanding exactly what my day is going to look like when I hit where I want to be in my life? And it may be forever changing, right? I mean, think about it. I want to walk out to a blue house that's on the lagoon, and I'm in a blue robe, drinking coffee, delivering it to my significant other, and the sky is blue. I smell the ocean air. What am I going to see, feel, hear, touch when I get to the end?
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to keep swimming and never getting to our destination.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good way to put it. I wanted a Ferrari before I had kids,
And
And
guess what? You redefined your purpose and your life and your why and your intentionality. And that is exactly what happens is this materialism of the do less, do more with less is, I have guys that come in my room and they're like, I want a private jet. And I'm like, no, you don't. That's like such bullshit. You're not even, what do you mean? Like, what is that going to do for you? Who are you in that private jet?
you can rent one if you want a picture for Instagram.
Listen, I have nothing wrong with having you want that house, that jet. But if that's not truly what your purpose is for driving yourself as hard as you're working, again, I'll go back to my family owning funeral homes. We don't know what happens day to day in our lives. And I see it firsthand. Live your life, live it with that purpose in mind, the kindness, the targeted approaches, the I'm going to have coffee with my family this morning and nothing's going to change that because I'm blocking my time because my why is that I want them to have a great day and know that we had a really good conversation this morning, right? Like that's how I think. I don't think about, revenue. Revenue follows. Revenue will always follow consistency, the discipline. Get over those childhood beliefs, do the work, do the healing on yourself, and think about the five things that you did today that were amazing. Don't look at a to-do list and a SMART goal because it's going to feel failure to you.
Yeah.
You're going to always concentrate on the negative instead of focusing on the five things that were, what did I get done today? How did I move myself toward the end?
Yeah. No, I love that a lot. Hey, listen, we're rounding the corner to the top of the hour. I want to make sure you're still good on time for a little bit if we go just a little over.
Sure. Whatever
Okay.
you want.
So I've got two more questions for you. So not too much over. But I'm listening to you, and a lot of the words that you're using. Now, I'm not a linguist, right? But I am listening to that, and I have a very simple question for you, and feel free to expand on it however you'd like. But do you believe that humans are self-actualizing, and to what extent do you believe that is true?
Well, I think our systems and processes of our world is built, they're built to keep the average man down. And I like to be, create a little bit of resistance here, and people can feel us however they want. We're not given the proper guidance even in school, right? We focus on things that are outdated. There's not entrepreneurialism in school. There's not financial structure in school. There's not mindset in school, right? We have these old historical systems to keep people average.
Hmm.
So we follow like a bunch of little ducks following the mother. And when we can break free of that, we can start to think individually. We can start to think where it is self actualizing to stay stuck on that road because that path is what everyone has paved. It's scary to walk out onto new footprints, but we have to think about where will that take us? Where will that lead us? So, why do people feel comfortable making $100,000 a year? Why is that comfort level? Anytime I've ever interviewed, especially, when they're younger, or I can't even say that, but what do what's your pie in the sky? Oh, 100,000. Where'd that number come from? Because it's safe, right? That's not how we become more. And it's not, again, it's not about the revenue that I'm looking at. I'm looking at where your thoughts are lying. Where are we? We've been built for average.
Wow,
That's why our slogan is you're either average or you're a warrior.
that's
What are
amazing.
you going to do today that's going to make you not be average?
So then the opposite must always also be true, right? Is if we can break free of that mindset, if we can make the intentional decision to not be average, we're almost destined to become great.
Why not? Who
Why
says you
not?
can't? Who
That's right.
says you can't? Stop putting limitations on yourself. It's just that we live in a society where everything is limited. There's limited potential. We have limited time. And we use this language over and over, and it becomes part of who our genetic makeup, so to speak, right? We always talk about the way that our parents limited us. And I'll even go as far as to say my mother, old school Italian thought process was we would leave the house and she'd say things like, be careful, be safe. What does that do to your subconscious mind? I say to my kids, go out there and kick ass, make good decisions. They know because I'm a crazy that I'm the one who's always going to say I'm going to do it. I'll try it. I'll do it. Let's get over that stuff that keeps us in that space.
Yeah.
I want to be different because I want to be able to do more for others. And if I can't do more for myself, how am I going to affect anyone else?
Yeah.
Right? And it starts with my family first, like always my family. And then I mean, do you know the gratification that we get in our world when we see people whom are hitting those goals that they have for themselves, those targets? But do you know how many of them don't because they become so overwhelmed And then they say, oh, well, I wasn't getting enough out of this. Bullshit. We've exited over 40 companies to generational wealth just in the last couple of years. We're hitting our 10-year anniversary. Don't tell me that. The systems and processes have been built. Don't tell me. You have limited yourself, and you have self-actualized exactly what you think about yourself.
That's amazing. Thank you for answering that question. I could totally go Joe Rogan style on this and talk to you for another 3 hours or so, but I'm going to move to close. So I got one more question for you before we ask where people can find you and CEO Warrior. So it's a question I like to ask everybody at the end of the show. If you could share one piece of wisdom or advice that has the potential to transform the way that small business or small blue-collar business owners think about success or growth or freedom or fulfillment, what would that be?
Stay stupid. Stay stupid and get a coach that's going to kick your ass and hold you accountable, and allow it. You're not that great. You don't need to know everything, but we can do amazing things together. You have to allow it for yourself, but you have to also know that you're worth it. I'm just teasing about not that great, but the worthiness has to be there, and we're going to work through this together. When we can get to a point where we start to see people almost coming over that slope, that's when we know that they're going to do amazing things. When you have high EQ, let's forget about IQ. Let's think about EQ and how our emotional quotient and who we are as people can start to emerge, instead of, again, with the ego. I'm always going to go back to the ego and the arrogance, and allow yourself to see yourself as a success. Whatever success means for you, you're going to be able to change your whole trajectory of your life. Some of us just don't see it. We don't see it. Allow us to see it and help you get there.
That is amazing. Thank you. You're the first one on the show to say "stay stupid" to my audience. No, but you know what? The way you framed it is so powerful. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. That's amazing. All right, Sandy, where can people find you? Where can people find CEO Warrior? How do they get in touch?
Awesome. So CEOwarrior.com. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, but the fastest way would be to book a strategy call. We can work out 30 minutes of amazing different opportunities that I will see in your business, and be able to take you down a path that you can put a roadmap together. We do have an event coming up September 19th and 20th in New Jersey. It's a pen to paper. It's not a stage guru who's going to be speaking at you and selling other people's products. This is us with our hearts in a highly participatory, let's be real, let's be vulnerable, let's get shit done kind of context. And when you leave that 2 days, we're not going to be motivated. We're going to have a purpose and a plan. And if you don't have it by the end of the 2 days, you damn well are going to be emailing it to me. Right? It's about making sure that we understand what the blueprint looks like, what the roadmap looks like. So that's in New Jersey, September 19th and 20th. It's a fast track. It's a Service Business Live. Get in the room and let us help you. Let us guide you. Saying stupid doesn't mean that you're not going to not enhance your learning curve. What it means is stop trying to follow shiny objects. Stay true to a process. That's all this is: consistency, discipline, alignment, clarity.
Yeah.
So,
and that's great. Thank you so much, Sandy. I know you're busy. Thanks a lot for spending your time with us today and instilling all your incredible wisdom and advice for my audience.
Gosh, thank you for doing what you do, because you're adding so much to the business owners out there who are struggling to find answers and to overcome some of life and what it has done for them, or the victimhood. And you're bringing them to see what men and women can become when they put their heart and souls into it. You're successful, and now you're bringing that back. And when you are successful, what do we get to do? Give it back. So thank you for having me today.
I'm a man of the people.
Man of the people.
No, thank you so much for saying that, Sandy. And until next time, all right?
Thanks for listening to the Blue is the New White podcast. Be sure to subscribe to get the latest episodes. For more, please follow at Josh Zolan on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. Or visit us at blueisthenewwhite.com, where we create success, not debt, and build blue-collar heroes.